Welcome to Advent of Tessellations 2025. My name is Madonna Yoder, and you're joining hundreds of folders around the world on this 25-day journey into the infinite world of repeating patterns folded from a single sheet of paper. You'll discover many different twists in this challenge, building up to advanced patterns with flagstone motifs of trapezoid twists. Welcome to the final day of Advent of Tess 2025. This is the pattern that we've been building up to all along. And it's named Coronas. It's one of my own designs. And we have really high density of trapezoid twists forming a flagstone motif. You can see these single spaces between parallel pleats. That is the hard part about this pattern. But the good news is that if you wanted to fold things one spacing further apart, you could still do that and use the same twists. So let's go ahead and dive in. If you have a particular side of your paper that you want to be on the front, this is when we'll flip the paper over. And by the way, we're using 24 grid divisions, just like we've been using for the whole series. We are actually going to fold a brand new twist today. And this is going to be the open double depth hexagon twist. So the last 2 days we did closed double depth hexagon twist where the mountain folds went out to the corners. Today the mountain fold will be one space higher. The mountain will hit one space above the corner, and the valley will be 2 spaces above that. So open is referring to how the mountain folds interact with the center, and double depth is referring to how many spaces are between the mountain and valley folds. So I'll do that first on one corner and then the next, always making sure that I have double depth pleats. And this will start setting up a star in the middle of the paper. That has some particular properties, which are unfortunately easiest to see once the star is complete. And we're very carefully adding in all 6 of these pleats, using the table to help keep everything in place. And then what we can see in this star is that we go in 1, out 2, in 1, out 2, in 1, out 2, in 1, out 2. So this is similar to the open hexagon puffy star where you go in 1, out 1, in 1, out 1, all the way around. And the open part is what makes it go in 1. The out 2 is coming from the double depth pleat. 2 spaces between where the mountain fold impacts and where the valley fold impacts. So with this in place, we are going to gently press from the top, and I'm going around and pressing gently on top of all 6 corners first, and then smoothing out the paper to get nice, crisp corners. And in that situation, you have time to recover in case one of your pleats has slipped from being double depth to single depth, for example. And only once that is firmly in place do I grab the bone folder and smooth everything out. From here, I'll flip the paper over, and this time, instead of the valley fold being at the folded mountain, it's actually going to be 1 space further in. My existing valley fold is going to be 1 space away from my new valley fold. And then my mountain fold will be one space further out, and my mountain fold for the double depth pleat will continue being the mountain fold of the middle single depth pleat. I have this point one space out from where the first single depth pleat mountain hits, which is where the third one will hit going in this direction. And I just need to keep this pleat lifted as I set up my new trapezoid twist. And one additional cue that I can use is that the mountain fold in the third single depth pleat direction is going to be 2 grid spaces from the next parallel mountain fold. With this in place, I can reach under the pleat that I have lifted and press to squash. There is still a little bit of space, so I'm not pressing right into a corner. And in order to flatten things out all the way, I'll lay down the double depth pleat on top and squash this trapezoid twist more fully. Oh, I should have mentioned before I moved that pleat, but this hole for the hexagon twist is 1 space per edge, which is the same as the offset of the mountain folds from the center. That's what makes it an open twist. Then I'm going to put in another trapezoid twist, and I'm going to put it on this pleat coming out from under my previous trapezoid so I can see where I'm working. I'm going to have the valley fold come out from right where this pleat emerges from under the trapezoid, and it is going to make contact with the other horizontal pleat. I'm going to have a corresponding mountain to the valley fold, and we're going to do exactly the same thing we did yesterday, taking those new pleats and interrupting the existing pleat from the trapezoid with a compound wrap. So this compound wrap has a 3-way intersection of mountain folds, another 3-way intersection of mountain folds, and it also has 2 3-way intersections of valley folds as well. And this is part of the reason why we were practicing so many compound wraps in dense spacings in previous days' patterns. One thing that will show up is that as you get that middle single depth pleat folded over the valley, you will end up with an accordion pleat. That is expected and normal. And then we can find our third single depth pleat that will be, like we saw last trapezoid, 2 spaces away from the parallel pleat. And what you saw me do there is kind of open up the hexagon a little bit to make it easier to find that third single depth pleat. And as long as everything is back in place by the end, you can open up whatever you like, but that is kind of advanced to be setting up a trapezoid and opening up other things at the same time. Then we can squash this trapezoid twist, and you'll see that these edges of the trapezoid fit together perfectly smoothly if we've folded our grid precisely. Rotating around, I'll repeat the same thing again with the valley fold coming right to that point where the new double depth pleat is coming out from under the previous trapezoid. I'll interrupt the pleat from that previous trapezoid, and this is going to feel crunchier than it did yesterday because we're closer to that previous trapezoid. And I'll find my third direction of single depth plate. Then press everything to squash. And again, this is causing an accordion pleat over here that is expected and normal. And then once again, we'll repeat the same step, putting in the compound wrap, then the rest of the trapezoid twist, and press to squash. And once again, putting in the compound wrap and finding the third pleat of the new trapezoid. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trapezoids in place. We're at our last trapezoid twist. I'm going to draw more since we don't have, strictly speaking, a previous drawn reference. And I'm going to start by opening up this bottom single depth plate, popping it down so the valley can come through. Instead of the valley continuing straight, it will bounce one grid spacing until it hits the valley below, at which point it will bounce again, and we will have mountain folds following the zigzag as well, with the appropriate mountains for three-way intersections. And then as I'm lifting up, I've got my new single depth plate with the mountain going straight under the corner of this existing trapezoid twist. I can go ahead and poke from the back to make that trapezoid more trapezoidy. And I'll take this pleat that's laying on top, see where it comes one space out, split it at that one space out from the corner point, and then split again one space below. That makes the compound wrap on the right side of this new trapezoid, and press to squash. Now we have that nice ring. And then we can do just like we did yesterday, flipping the paper over and taking each of our compound wraps, popping out the rhombus twist. The difference from yesterday is that there are these other plates that are really close by. You can choose however many layers you want to lift up. I'll lift just one layer as I squash this to have less layers underneath. And then continue around. Now that I've folded this flap out, I don't have to lift any layers as I work around and fold my rhombus twists. These are closed rhombus twists. So like I mentioned at the beginning, this is the densest way to fold the sequence of twists, but you can also add space between the twists and get functional repeating patterns. And speaking of repeat, when I've folded the rest of these rhombus twists, I'll show you what this pattern looks like when it does repeat, which I must say is one of the more frustrating patterns that I've folded in the last couple years. But once I folded more variations on it for the Advent of Tess ebook, kind of come around to the idea of folding with this much density. The main problem is the open double depth hexagon in more repeats. So with all of those rhombus twists in place, we have the final pattern for Advent of Tess 2025, coronas. It looks like little crowns, and you can fold that with as many repeats as you like. You can fold that with more space between the twists. This has 2 extra spaces relative to what we folded today. You can fold that with a bunch of rhombus twists in between. You can fold that with, and I should also be showing the back sides of these guys. So we've got these triangles that facilitate getting those repeats to happen, like we folded in Mystery Weave. This is with 2 extra spaces and also into the next trapezoids on 32 divisions. At least I think it's 32. This guy also has those little cubes of rhombus twists on the back, which is just like kind of perfect for day 25 of Advent of Tess. And this one has a whole bunch of rhombus and triangle twists on the back and a bunch of extra rhombus twists on the front. All of these 4 patterns that I just showed are in the Advent of Tess 2025 ebook, which you can get at gatheringfolds.com, origamiusa.org, and at origamishop.com. And as always, I encourage you to tag me at Gathering Folds on Instagram or Facebook when you post what you've folded from my tutorials. And I encourage you all to keep folding tessellations through the holidays and into the next year. There are some really great resources you can find at training.gatheringfolds.com about how to read crease patterns so you're not reliant on video tutorials, how to start designing your own patterns, and that really meshes with the reading crease patterns. So knowing the underlying structures of the tessellations gives you most of the information about reading crease patterns, folding more repeats, and designing your own patterns. So all of this information is heavily interconnected. And you can find my best, most up-to-date resources on that in Tessellation Academy. You can also find the Tessellations by Tiles course and Advanced Twist Techniques, where we focus more on, okay, what's the new realization, the new revelation, what new twists, what new tilings, what new methods can I bring and share every couple years. So there's a wide range of difficulty levels of courses. If you're folding coronas with me today, I think you've already gotten past the point of doing basic twist bootcamp. We don't even get into trapezoid twists there, much less high density. And so something like Tessellation Starter Sequence or Tessellation Academy would be the better choice if you've folded this far. So happy folding, everyone. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and I hope you have lots of time to fold in the new year. All right, happy Advent of Tess, and see you later.